Friday, January 15th. I want to welcome you to the ad hoc committee on the 2024 Summer Olympics. Madam Clerk, I believe we have a quorum. Am I right? What did you say?
That is correct.
So if you say that is correct, then we will begin. So if I could ask the members to find their seats. And let's, if you'd read item 1.
And item 1 is a joint report from the CAO and the CLA and a city attorney report relative to a proposed MOU between the city and the Los Angeles 2024 Exploratory Committee regarding the roles and responsibilities of the city and LA24 in relation to the candidature process to attract the 2024 Summer Olympics. A revised MOU has been submitted this morning and circulated to the committee members.
Okay, why don't we talk about this for a minute? So if I could get the CLA and the other necessary staff to come forward.
Good morning, Sharon So, CLA.
Ben Sehel with the CAO.
Dan Kreinbring with the City Attorney's Office.
Brian Nelson, Los Angeles 2024.
All righty. Who do we want to start this with? The CAO or the CLA? I like the CLA. Let's start with the CLA.
Yes, sir. So I will
I
provide a brief
don't
overview.
know about the CAO, but I like the CLA.
I like the CLA too.
So, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, the item before you is the MOU prepared by the City Attorney with LA24 pursuant to your council action regarding the efforts to bring the Olympics to the City of Los Angeles in 2024. The MOU defines the roles and responsibilities of the city as well as LA24, and the MOU also incorporates the council's guiding principles that you adopted late last year relative to protecting the city finances, retaining control over decisions and making decision-making issues over affecting the city, and providing transparency during this process. Key provisions of the MOU as negotiated by the City Attorney with LA24, the Council or Mayor will be required to, will have approval authority for any expenditure or financial risk involved in this candidature process, that the city will have the right and the council will have the ability to approve all key agreements related to this process, including the host city agreement, which will be submitted in September of 2016. The LA24 will also commit to meeting regularly with members of city staff, city council members, the mayor, city attorney. They have also committed to having community outreach. They plan on having at least one meeting in each council district to solicit public feedback and comments on the proposal. And LA24 with the city will also seek support from for the financial liabilities and guarantees, and also seek federal designation of the Olympic event as a national special security event. So LA24 is also in terms of protecting the city finances, has agreed also to fund an independent expert, which will be hired by the city. And this expert will be reviewing all of the projected revenues and expenditures in the proposal, and will be providing a report to City Council.
And this is something that we talked about early on in the process, that we wanted to bring in our own financial. Will we have any say in who that individual is?
Yes, it will be hired. That will be our independent expert.
Okay.
At their expense.
Okay. I like that. Continue.
So this primarily is focused on the MOU. We expect, in terms of next steps, that the next meeting we will be getting a presentation from the LA24 about the Stage 1 submittal, which will be in February of 2016. That Stage 1 submittal will focus on the Olympic Village and venue plan, at the next meeting, we also expect to report to this committee and council whether there are any additional guarantees that the city might be required. The city attorney is evaluating that. So with that said, we would recommend that the committee approve the revised MOU submitted by city attorney this morning.
Okay, if I could get, hear a bit from the CAO and the city attorney, and then I'd want to hear from the representative from the committee.
Sure. So the only thing that I'll add at this point is that pertaining to the budget expert or the independent expert that Ms. So mentioned, we are in the process of putting together a solicitation process. So pending approval from the committee here, we will continue to work on the solicitation process so that we can procure this independent expert to begin the work as soon as we can on the budget analysis that we mentioned.
Okay, city attorney, and are we protected? Are you good?
I'm good.
Explain to me quickly why.
We are protected in several ways. No substantive decision pertaining to funding would go without you guys approving it first. We reiterate the principles set forth in September 1st, 2015. It provides a framework on how we work together, and there's indemnity provisions. It's a very robust agreement and one that we've worked closely together on and we've been crafting for the last several months.
Okay.
Mr. President and members of the ad hoc committee, I just want to, on behalf of LA24, thank you for the opportunity to enter into this formal MOU. The process of just preparing the MOU has already substantially benefited our work as we are in competition with 3 other great and beautiful cities around the world to host the 2024 games. This process has certainly helped us channel very constructively our thinking around the 2-year candidacy process to host the games. It has created, just by creating a foundation for the relationship that LA24 now has with the city's designated representatives. It's been very strong and very close, as the city attorney's representative Dan just said, and has been, I think it has provided the basis for a great working relationship going forward over the next 2 years. Also, unsurprisingly, your representatives have really added great input and very substantive input into our games plan as we're sort of working through our stage 1 deliverables. So that has also been tremendously helpful. And substantively, we just can't obviously prepare a great bid for the IOC without city participation. It's critical that we have a great working relationship with the city and the city's representatives, and the MOU really codifies that relationship and is a sort of a proof point to the IOC and to the world of the strong working relationship we have with the city. So we are very, very excited to be able to enter into this MOU. Thank you for the opportunity and the consideration of it, and look forward to working with you over the next 2 years.
Well, we thank you as well. I do want to say that at this point, I am joined by Mr. Paul Krikorian, Mr. Mitch O'Farrell, Mr. Price, Mr. Bob Bloomingfield, and Mr. Joe Buscaino. For the record, I just want everyone to know who is here. I do have a question before I kick it over to the other members. I just want to, I guess any of the city representatives can chime in. We have indicated to the public when we're out and people are asking us questions about 2024, we have indicated that we are a partner, an equal partner. Does this arrangement ensure that I want to make sure we're not telling the public something that isn't accurate, and if it doesn't ensure that, what can we do to make sure that it does? Whoever.
So I believe that this MOU does make the city an equal partner. In fact, an equal partner in the sense that it doesn't go forward without the city. So your approval will be required on all of the key agreements that LA24 is committed to, not only working with the city staff, but also going out to the community and getting their input. That is also part of being an equal partner as well. In fact, LA24, in listening to the city about financial risk, is making a concerted effort to minimize those risks to protect the city finances. So I would say that this MOU does contain those provisions that will protect the city in the long term, and also making the city an equal partner in the sense that it doesn't go forward without you.
I would like to echo what Ms. So said. This has several provisions which really emphasize the partnership and the equal partnership and the transparency and the engagement to council.
Okay, so what I would like to recommend to members, they brought on the new executive director, Gene Sykes, unbelievably impressive guy. If you're afforded an opportunity to, either chat with him over the phone or have a meeting, I would highly recommend it. I think that that a great team is being put in place, and you may want to sit down and talk to Mr. Sykes. He's very impressive. Okay, I want to open it up to members. Mr. O'Farrell?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To echo what you just said, I want to thank you, Brian, and Mr. Sykes, and the team came in to see me this week. We had a really great meeting, and we kind of dialed down on some of the finer points of this proposal, so thank you. And I would highly recommend that as well for everyone. In terms of the 15 outreach meetings that will be in all the, each council district, those meetings, correct me if I'm wrong, they'll take place after the Stage 1 IOC submittal. Am I correct in that? I mean, it would have to be after February. We couldn't possibly.
I think the timing of most of those meetings haven't been set yet. Obviously, that would be something that would be closely coordinated in each of your districts.
Okay, thank you. And then in terms of that February submittal and the timing of our discussions leading up to what we all are optimistic will be the granting of the Olympics here in Los Angeles. The next time this ad hoc committee meets, we're going to need to see the finalized list of the Olympic Village sites. And that's, as I understand from what we discussed the other day. And that will absolutely need to take place before February 17th. So I understand that's being fine-tuned, and you'll come back to us.
Yes, the intent is to come before this ad hoc committee once more before the February 17th submittal date. What we would be presenting, in essence, and reporting to you what has changed since the original submittal was made to the IOC. What's changed? What's new with regard to site locations, things of that nature. Give you up to and also address whatever concerns that our office has raised initially. What have we checked off on, so to speak, and what still remains to be addressed going forward?
And as I understand it, you will present a suggested list, sort of a finalized, narrowed down list of Olympic Village sites with a recommendation of the site from this collaboration here at the next ad hoc meeting.
We are working hard on that now, and that is definitely our hope and our goal. Yes.
Terrific. Thank you. And then in terms of just thinking ahead, and we'll have more discussion on this, I'm sure, as the months move forward in the next year. In terms of thinking about a city in preparation for the Olympics, what will that mean for certain populations? What will that mean for our city facilities? Recreation and parks facilities that may or may not be used in preparation for security reasons and just getting the sites ready, how that will affect constituents who use these public facilities. Will it be months in advance where they'll be on lockdown? Will it be weeks in advance? How will we deal with some of our vulnerable populations, homeless, et cetera? Things to consider in moving forward, in consideration of the venues and the sites surrounding the venues. It is where I'm always going with this is how we can opportunistically help work together to help address some of the issues facing us in terms of housing and venues and renovated city properties that we will benefit long after the Olympics long after the Olympics are gone. Just something to think about. And that's all I have for now, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go to Mr. Krikorian, followed by Mr. Price.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you all for your work on this. I think Mr. O'Farrell has just highlighted a few of the many, many issues that, as we begin implementing the operation of this MOU, the city is going to have to grapple with, and LA24 is going to have to grapple with. And none of that is even really being presented to us yet, but clearly there's going to be many things that we're going to have to work our way through as we move forward, and those are a few excellent examples. This agreement that's before us seems to provide, as I read it, a basic architecture of assurance that the city will not be obligated in any way without the city's express advance sign-off.
That's correct.
Okay. So as I look at the roles and responsibilities section of this, for example, the only obligation that the city is undertaking by executing this is to cooperate in good faith, to seek support from other jurisdictions, and to cooperate in seeking security provisions from the federal government. Other than that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but other than that, as I'm reading this, all of the obligations under this are LA24's.
That is correct.
Okay. And before the city were to undertake any responsibilities, those responsibilities would have to be expressly approved by this council and the mayor with further writings.
That is also correct.
All right. Now, I'm further comforted by the indemnification agreement. Thank you for including that. I don't quite follow the mechanics of it, and specifically in the third paragraph of the indemnification agreement. Maybe you could just kind of explain that in layperson's terms. When there are expenses incurred by a city indemnified party prior to final resolution or final disposition of a proceeding, what must the city do in order to secure its rights to indemnification under that paragraph? As I understand it, I think the city indemnified party simply requests indemnification and states affirmatively that this is not arising from the gross negligence or willful misconduct of the city indemnified party. Is that right?
Right, and it'll need to be in writing.
Okay. All right, so the city attorney, I'm sure, will be on top of that. And then with regard to the indemnification agreement also, is there some point at which the organizing committee typically obtains insurance, and what kinds of insurance in other cities has the organizing committee typically secured, and what's LA24's plan with regard to that?
Sure. We are obviously looking at insurance. We, as the candidate committee, have already obtained insurance to protect us in the city for the candidature process, so for the next 2-year process. We are also gone out to the market to start to look at insurance that will obviously cover the planning and construction phase of the bid, should we actually be chosen as the host city, so that, that's everything that you would expect in terms of getting venues ready to host the game. And then obviously we will also go out and get insurance for unexpected events during the games themselves. So we've been working with very closely with some partners on looking at the best possible insurance package to ensure that we've done everything to obviously protect the city in hosting the games. But our main approach and the main strategy really is building a budget that obviously the city feels confident on is limiting the city's risk.
Great. And then as you move forward with that, I would just ask that and I assume it's already the case, that the city's representatives will be engaged in the evaluation of the insurance package so that in that we're entering into an MOU in reliance on an indemnification agreement. The indemnification agreement is only as good as the resources that back it. That's going to be the insurance package, and so we'll certainly need to have the
And there was
sign off of the CAO.
there's already been
and
a
the
session
CLAO.
held on insurance, just like a 2 or 3 hour session that was held on insurance with LA 24, with our risk manager, with the city attorney, where they presented some of the packages that they're looking at, and our risk manager was very pleased with the level of coverage that they were seeking.
Good. All right. Thank you very much. Great work on this.
Mr. Price.
Thank you. I actually want to just thank staff for the excellent job in working with the committee, the organizing committee at least, getting us this far. I think it's pretty clear that efforts have been made to make sure there's no city involvement unless the city council signs off on these on every step of the way. And I think that's important. I did have a chance to meet with Mr. Sykes and the team, and was very impressed with his enthusiasm and knowledge and willingness to work with all segments of the community to make sure this is really a total community event. 2 quick questions, though. Can you just again give us the chronology on what's going to happen? I know this approval of this is necessary for a submission that we're going to be making soon, but give us some idea of what the chronology is on the other submissions. And on page 4, section 7, city funding, again, very explicit. LA 24 does not anticipate that the city will be requested to expend funds related to the candidature during the term. Does that mean that LA 24 is going to be doing it, or we're going to be doing some other kind of fundraising, or city's last resort, or just what does that sentence mean exactly?
So in terms of chronology,
Yeah.
there are going to be 3 stages for the submittal. The first one takes place next month, February 17th. It will focus on what they entitle the vision, games, concept, and strategy. So that will be the first submittal by LA 24. The second submittal, stage 2 submittal, will involve the governance and legal structure and venue funding. That will take place on October 7th. And then the final stage 3 submittal will take place on February 3rd of 2017, and that will involve games delivery experience and venue legacy. So those are the 3 stages. We expect that we will be coming back to you at least periodically, and of course in advance of each one of those stages, especially as it relates to any required approvals by the city. So we will be coming back to you on that. In terms of the page 4, no expenditures, that candidature expense relates to actually the stages, because there is a requirement to make a payment with each one of those stages, and those payments are being made by LA 24. There is no city commitment in terms of submitting the stage 1, stage 2, or stage 3 submittals. The total amount is approximately $250,000.
And I would just add, we are 100% privately financed through our own fundraising.
Thank you.
Mr. Blumenfield.
Great, thank you. And I appreciate the committee's work so far, and I had the opportunity to meet with them and go over a lot of questions that I had earlier. And just sort of to reiterate, one of the things we talked about in that meeting was, the idea of engagement. We as a council, we don't want to just be faced with a decision, where we're weighing pros and cons at the end of the day, and we kind of have to make a decision on the margin. We want to be part of that process all along, so that we're not in that difficult decision making, but we've been making the decisions all along to lead up to that final decision. But I know that you guys understand that, but I just wanted to reiterate that. Second, question about the involvement on the state and the federal level. We're committing to help get the federal designation for national security event, but LA 24, I assume, and I want to clarify this, is going to be taking the lead in terms of lobbying the federal government and the state government, and how is that going to happen? Are you guys going to engage us in that process? We have state and federal lobbyists as well, but I assume we're not relying on the city lobbyists to work on those issues. What's the structure of those issues? And they are very important to our phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, because, we could be talking about hundreds of millions of dollars worth of indemnification potentially.
As the stage process, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, particularly in stage 2, we'll need, but including stage 1, we'll need expressions of support from the federal government and from state government around all aspects of our games planning. So yes, we are working with partners to engage all of our needed stakeholders in the federal government around security, in particular in the NSSE designation, and around sort of environmental regulations on the state level to ensure that we have that level of commitment and support from the federal and state government, and LA24 is taking the lead on doing that.
Well, what about more specifically, like state indemnification and them actually putting? I know that getting the support and sort of those things is the easy part. The hard part is getting them to put into upcoming budgets money aside for actual indemnification and or whatever other contributions the state is going to be making, and the feds for that matter. So what's the process of making that happen, and what are our goals in terms of that? And how is it laid out in the MOU in terms of whose responsibility that is?
That's a great question. So we are, obviously the state has previously provided an indemnification for the domestic phase of the candidature process. We are still working through and just beginning to look at a strategy to engage the state on guarantee along those same lines now. So we are very much in the process of LA24, consulting with the city, obviously, at looking to opportunities to do exactly as you described, which is to talk to the state about a guarantee.
But from the MOU perspective, it's LA24 that takes the lead on the state and on the federal engagement?
LA24 has taken the lead. Obviously, the MOU is designed to work in partnership with the city, so we are engaging the city on all of these pieces.
And I say this, by the way, we around this horseshoe and as a city want to engage and want to be fully there, but I just want to make sure that, who's the quarterback, and I think that LA24 is the quarterback, and you need to know that we got a lot of good players here that are willing to be part of that team to make it happen. If there's something that we're quarterbacking, we need to know in advance, so that if I have too many football metaphors, but if somebody drops the ball, we know where it is and who dropped it, and that's what I'm worried about in terms of the MOU. Yeah.
No, we 100% appreciate that. No balls have been dropped. We feel like we have a good partnership with the city, have received the support that we need to make the presentations both on the federal and state level that we think will be compelling. And the reason why LA24 is really the quarterback, because a lot of what you've described is really baked into the staged process itself by the International Olympic Committee.
Okay, so LA24 is the quarterback on both the state and the federal initiatives.
We are the quarterback.
Okay, and that's clear in the MOU.
With a strong partnership with the city.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mr. Buscaino, the linebacker. Now, you're a great player, but I'm more of a defensive linebacker.
Absolutely. I'll hike that ball. I have horrible hands, for the record, but I'll catch anything that comes my way. I want to thank Mr. Chairman and our council president and the mayor for, bold leadership, taking that action, that decisive action, and giving y'all orders, marching orders, and what we have before us. Clearly, this team before us delivered, especially as it relates to lowering the risk of the city, and that's something that, it was a will of this council to look at. But when we talk about risk assessments, I feel it all comes down to housing. That village is going to really play a huge role on whether or not the city is going to cough up money or not. And I'm anxious to hear about, as you come before us again, I believe the first week of February, I was told. I, too, had an opportunity to meet with the team just on Wednesday. So I'm really anxious to hear some of the ideas of identifying a village location. I would suggest looking at some existing housing today to lower that risk of what's before us today throughout the city of Los Angeles. I know we have the venues. In fact, we're going to be adding a venue in Inglewood. So we had the venue, we had the excitement, we had the support, but I'm anxious to see and hear the plans that are going to be surrounded as far as identifying a village location. So thank you again for your hard work, and looking forward to the ongoing continued dialogue between the committee and our city team and this council. Appreciate your hard work.
Okay, no further questions. So what action is before us, Madam Clerk? We want to approve the CLA-CAO report with the revised MOU. So without objection, that'll be the order. Is there any, are there any other members of your team you want to introduce? Just so we'll know, put faces with names.
They sent the lawyer today, but I think at the next
Okay,
meeting,
let's. Yeah, that would not be an idea. But anyway, so without objection, that'll be the order. And again, I want to thank each and every one of you for all of the hard work you put in. It's up to this point, it's been a great partnership, and I'm very optimistic that it will get even better. And to our city folk, well done. To our city people, well done. Okay, this meeting's adjourned. Thank you, sir. Thank you, guys.